Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's We're Afraid of the Dark. Our Are You Afraid of the Dark talk through. We are, well, we're now really into season four because it's a two-parter. We're covering two episodes in this single episode review here. It's episodes 4 and 5, The Tale of Cutter's Treasure. I was surprised, as no doubt everybody else is, to even see a two-part story in this because you think, how does that even work in the context of the Midnight Society? But to be fair, I haven't watched it. I think it works okay.
Yeah, I think they execute interesting, creative sort of decision to explain why they extended to a second part. So
Agreed. And initially, I got really excited as well because it kind of felt like a bit of an epic. It felt like, oh my goodness me, they're bringing all these characters together, kind of like the Avengers, but for Where or Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then like they dropped the ball so hard with this crappy
oh
ass,
yeah,
really do. But yeah, like initially really excited. Yeah, it's the only thing I could compare it to, even though really it's just two characters being brought together. It's considering the strength of those two characters.
yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like because of somebody like as me, like I've watched this show through. I think I mentioned before at least twice, and
Hmm.
this episode again. As soon as I started watching it, I don't remember it too well. And I thought, like, how can that be possible considering some of the things that take place in it? But I think as we go along, it'll kind of like that'll be figured out as we go along.
Yeah, the two favorite characters that are horribly misused, but we will get into some of that detail as we go on. There's a ton of facts about this one. Starting with the episode was one of the ones that received a novelization in the book series. Unlike The Tale of the Nightly Neighbors, though, this was actually a straightforward adaptation with no real changes to it.
Hmm.
The magic set on Max's ad that Rush buys for him is Shandu's magic kit. And I missed this completely. Of course, Shandu was the magician from The Tale of the Magician's Assistant. I can't believe I
Indeed, it
missed that.
was.
It's so obvious.
Hmm.
And the name of Vic's barbershop, the Wild Boar Coiffure, is a reference to the Wild Boar restaurant that you had in the Tale of the Dangerous Soup.
Hmm.
In the background of Sardo's shop, there's a skeleton in a top hat wearing the skeleton vest Master Raymond from the Tale of the Whispering Walls had on.
Oh, nice.
Yep, Sardo mentions the popularity potion from the Tale of the Dark Dragon.
I did pick up on that one.
Yep. Dominic Zamprognia, who portrayed Russianness, previously appeared in the series before. He was in the Tale of the Full Moon as Jed Harris. I didn't really recognize
Hmm.
him.
Yeah, I recognized him, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. But there you go.
Andrew Sardello, who plays Max, was in the Goosebumps episode Night of the Living Dummy 2, where he played a
Hmm.
character called Jed. The problem with that is I only really remember Night of the Living Dummy 3, the bit that
Hmm.
one, more than 2.
I don't know what that's about. I can only have, that one's like by far the most memorable. I don't know why. I think it's because it like has Hayden Christensen in it or something. I don't know, maybe.
Possibly, possibly. But then, even then, like I didn't know that back, and like that's later knowledge, you know?
It is like I believe a two-parter as well, so it's quite like yeah, maybe that's why. I don't know.
Indeed, indeed. All right. Well, obviously, folks, this is got two major characters in it, and it's Sardo's fourth appearance and Dr. Vink's fourth, but this is Dr. Vink's final appearance.
Oh.
And well, what's quite interesting is DJ McKell's talked about this, and
Hmm.
basically he couldn't come up with another story good enough for Dr. Vink and just didn't want to
Hmm.
kind of drop him in randomly. I was like, you know what? I mean, at least that's a fair enough reason. You kind of respect the character enough to not just throw him in a random episode.
Yeah, I like that, but then they did this episode, so
Yeah, I suppose you're right. It's not like he's an important figure in this, yeah.
yeah.
And this is the only time a protagonist eventually gets Sardo's name right. I thought that was a funny reference.
Oh well. I might make mention of that in my notes, but who knows?
And additionally, this is the first time a character does not refer to Dr. Vink as a nutbag, although he does use the line, it's actually not. In the novel, Sardo calls him a nutbag, which I think they should have
Uh,
used for the show.
yeah, that's by far much, much better.
Hmm. And this is also the only time that a protagonist pronounces Dr. Vink's name right. So you can kind of see what they were trying to do with this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, as you go through the episode, it does feel like kind of rewards you a little bit for having watched the show up to this point. So it's like a nice combination, like you said, with all the little references and props from previous things and all that. It's kind of like does reward you a little bit. So there is that.
Avengers Endgame ain't got shit on Are You Afraid of the Dark?
What I've been waiting
uh,
for, man.
Yeah. Susie Almegren, who portrays Mrs. Keegan, previously appeared in the episode The Tale of the Crimson Clown as Mrs. Carter, which I think is the mum in that episode. There we
Mm,
go. Mark Bromelo, who portrays Mr. Noise, previously appeared in the episode The Tale of the Magician's Assistant as Nazrak. I would not have got that.
no.
And this is the only two-part episode, and the only one to have more than one storyteller.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And these last two facts fascinate me. One of them is a genuine wait, what? This is the only episode in season 4 to be written by DJ McHale himself. And I thought, that's weird. He doesn't write any
Hmm.
of them. Oh no, he's been writing a ton of them. He is Chloe Brown. That's his pen name. So when we've
Yeah.
had written by Chloe Brown, it's actually written by DJ McHale.
That's just bizarre.
Right? Bizarre.
Yeah.
I have no idea why you're using a pen name.
I mean, you got to find out the trivia for that somehow.
But yeah, and the VHS release apparently has a behind the scenes video. So how cool
Ooh.
would that have been to see?
I need to see that. Maybe at the end of this, we should try and sneak that out somehow and like give a little talk about it.
I should have actually looked into it. You're right, but there we go. All right, quick run of the cast. Dominic Zambrogna as Russell, aka Rush Keegan. Andrew Sardella as Max Keegan. Richard Dumont as Sardo. Aaron Tager as Dr. Vink. Chip Chipuka as Mr. Keegan and Ian Keegan. Susie Almegren as Mrs. Keegan. Emily Hampshire as Sandy. AJ Fry as Tony. Maria Morta as Mrs. Gregory. Mark Bromelo as Mr. Noise. And he's separated because he's a fairly significant star. Charles S. Dutton as Captain Jonas Cutter, who I couldn't tell you the films and stuff he's been in, but the moment I saw his face, I was like, you've been in stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he lights up the screen a bit, doesn't he? So,
Okay, Gary is making an announcement, which apparently is for the group, but he's facing the camera and talking directly to us. It's well off-putting. Like, I was like, it's implied he's making it to the group, but it's for us.
mm,
He explains that tonight is a special night. Normally, when they meet around a campfire to tell their tales, each one of them has their own special brand of terror. They tell stories of adventure, the macabre, and grotesque. They tell stories about real people trapped in unreal worlds or heroes searching for truth. No two stories are alike because no two of us are alike. Frank now arrives to stand next to Gary and reveals that the two of them are telling a story tonight together. How exciting! Gary says it has magic, which I booed at. Frank says it has mayhem. I cheered. It's about an evil power so strong. Gary says that it survived for centuries, waiting to rise up and spread its terror. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, this is the two-part of the tale of Cutter's Treasure. So they do build it up well enough for me to be intrigued because I see the title and I think it's fucking pirate stuff. And the cast, pirate stuff. That ain't scary. It ain't gonna be interesting. But they do a good job between Frank and Gary, who are obviously very strong actors themselves. They got
mm.
me enough to go, right, let's see what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I do think a lot of the times some of these stories are held back by poor titles, even if they maybe even if they're like half decent, the titles kind of makes you sometimes not too excited because you can automatically already figure out. I feel like that
Yep.
wasn't always the case with like Goosebumps, with the names of the books. Yeah, okay, it kind of gives it away to a degree, I guess. That's not really true, but like it just feels like there's more mystery. This seems kind of more on the nose. I don't know why. Also, yeah, I like the intro as well because we've always made mention throughout this, obviously, how each of the storytellers have their own unique style. So the idea of taking two of them and like pushing them together and see what came out of like their two unique styles is a very interesting concept. So I'm all for it.
And I am putting so much of the blame of this episode on Gary because he's the one that talks the most through it. So I think it's like I'm leaning towards it's like 80% Gary, 20% Frank, or that Gary was rewriting Frank's bits.
Yeah, so rather than like it's a situation where they're like amicably making this story together, you're saying they're like actually butting heads, and Gary's like, no, more magic,
Yes,
and yeah, Frank's like, no,
exactly
what are you
that.
talking about? Like my track record is clearly better than yours, Gary. But Gary is the leader, and he's already stamped his authority recently. With the whole situation with the girl. So
That Sam, yeah.
Sam.
Yeah, because I can't believe they didn't use this opportunity to, considering both of them are supposedly vying for the interest of Sam. They then have them both telling a story together. I feel like they could have made this a bit more of a conflict thing, but they just don't do
Mm.
anything with it.
It could be like interesting, like throughout the story, like Frank's like he wanted it to go this direction, and Gary's like, no, I think it should go this way, and kind of maybe like, you know,
Rewriting it as it goes along.
Yeah, just thinking too hard.
We are indeed, as we begin in olden times, seeing a dirty pirate named Ian Keegan sneaking into a room with a knife. He's approaching another pirate with his back to his chair. As he gets closer, Ian speaks aloud, revealing that he's about to try and kill a pirate named Captain Jonas Cutter, who, according to Ian, is really, really evil and has killed many innocent people in the search for treasure. Ian spins the chair around to find a skeleton and falls to the floor in fright, dropping the dagger and failing to see the actual Captain Cutter standing nearby because apparently Ian has zero peripheral vision to see the fairly large captain standing right there. So dumb.
Very pantomime.
Yes! God, isn't it so much? I mean,
Mhm.
I am not a pirate fan at all. I despise almost everything to do with pirates and how people romanticize that side of things. One of my most hated genres of music is pirate metal slash rock.
Mm.
You know, those idiots that go yo ho ho and oh, I hate it. I hate it all. So when it were, this was already we are not off to a winner with me with all this pirate crap.
That's fair.
As the pirate mocks Ian, we see a young boy sneaking in and picking up the dagger that Ian was going to use on Captain Cutter. Finally, this scene ends with Ian cursing Cutter and telling him that all the treasure he has will never make him happy. He is then killed, seemingly, as Captain Cutter swings his sword, and we kind of cut to modern times as two kids are playing with toy swords. Good little transition there. I like the fact that obviously we're not going to see someone die, but they make sure we know this person died.
Definitely, and I think you can already tell straight away that this episode has like more of a higher production sort of thing. So
Yeah, and I'm going to say, like the two actors here, they are good. They're good actors. Like they're playing off each well. They believe in what they're saying.
yeah, absolutely. I no hate on the acting throughout this episode, these like two parts at all. It's quite strong. I mean, a little bit cheesy in places, but that's kind of to be expected, with the subject matter.
Oh, absolutely. Because we're about to hear what I think is the only part where I went, ooh, that's really bad. Because we now meet Tony and Max and they're playing pirates. They overhear Max's older brother, Russell, who we should say is nicknamed Rush. So I'm calling him Rush from this point out. And he's about to get a kiss from his girlfriend, Sandy. Um, we'll get into more about that old thing, but basically the two boys play a prank which involves turning a hose on and spraying water on them. Guys, how do you not know to not put a picnic blanket down next to a fucking goddamn spraying thing?
Mm, yeah.
Obviously, Sandy is upset, so heads home, and Russell angrily chases Max. The acting here, when they jump up and like the laughing and put, it's really really bad. Like no, they're not.
Mm,
It's not a good. It's the only part that I really noted where I was like, oh, that's not good.
yeah, it's a bit of a bit of an uncomfortable one for sure.
As they arrive home, we get a shot of a sign revealing the family's last name is Keegan, just for the link to the good pirate from the start. They wanted their parents who are packing up to leave for a long bicycle riding trip. Okay, this is the weirdest sucking one they've done to date. And these parents are like, the kids aren't being left alone. They're being left with like an elderly babysitter named Mrs. Gregory. But it's the enthusiasm the parents have for this bike ride. And like, I think if those kids hadn't come back, they were just going to leave. Like they were already packed up and
Yeah.
leaving. And it's almost like, oh God, yeah, we'll see you guys later. We've got a really good but I am convinced, I've told myself this, they're not going on a bike ride. It's a fucking swingers club. They're going somewhere there. They're just far too into a bike ride.
Yeah, I mean they're just basically like you said, just informing the kids that's where they're going, and like too
Right?
bad if they're too bad what they think about it.
They don't even wait for this babysitter to come over, who's an elderly woman. What if she has a fallen away? What if she never turned up?
But one of the like a lot of the times what the stories are behind a lot of these parents having kids because they often just come across like they just wish they never had, you know? Yeah.
We've talked a lot more about this trope in Goosebumps more than anything else, but it's a consistent trope that seems to be designed around the fact that we have to have parents for youngsters, but we also can't write them in, so we need to write them out. And however they do it, it doesn't really matter because who's paying that much attention except us nerds?
Yes.
So Rush and Max work together to trick Mrs. Gregory into believing that the parents stayed at home because the kids are sick with measles. And I was kind of like, you know what? I'm fine with the kind of silliness of it all, but it's that whole thing where like they've not thought far ahead because it will eventually backfire. Like it's going to backfire because Miss Gregory, when the parents are back, are going to say, "Oh, I'm glad to see you're better now." And they're going to go, "Oh, what do you mean? We weren't sick." And just go, "Oh, I thought you had the measles," and you just all that kind of stuff.
think it's okay because they're kids. They're thinking very short term, so it works, Yeah.
I know I was being pedantic as fuck about that one, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Hmm.
But afterwards, Rush is done with Max, with the latter wanting to hang out. Rush refuses, so Max threatens to call her parents and only relents when Rush agrees to go and buy him a Shandu magic set as a kind of way to shut him up. And where does that lead him to? Of course, Sardo's magic mansion. Of course, and there he meets Sardo. No, mister. Accent on the dough. As usual, the man tries to sell Rush all kinds of cheap trinkets, but Rush becomes interested in a store contest, one that says if you can open this old wooden chest, win a prize. Easy enough, right? Except it's not, and even Sardo can't get into it, which makes the fact that it opens easily for Rush a bit odd. Obviously, Sardo's appearance is always greeted with love and whatever. Okay, there's nothing really original here, but I don't know, man. Just listen to his cheap charlatan way of salesman shit and attempt. I
Hmm.
always, I'm there for it, and I think weirdly these two play off really well with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they have like quite good chemistry. And I think it's not the most, it's not too bad of a creative way to introduce Sado in. It makes sense. They've already introduced the whole thing with him and the girl and stuff like that, and how he wants the brother to leave him alone so he can be with his girlfriend and stuff like that. So it's somewhat creative. And as you say, anytime Sado shows up in an episode, it automatically goes a few points up. So I'm always happy.
I agree. I agree. So the box is open and Sado is overjoyed as it seems as though someone gave it to him, promising Sado $5,000 if he could open it. Although he quickly plays it off. I am all in on any actor who's a good actor. I love
Mm.
that trope of they start to say something and then not cut themselves off. Like
Mm.
I'm always in that. And Richard Dumont is really really good at doing that.
Yeah, he's a master at that exact comedy, definitely.
Yep. To get rid of Rush, he offers him items inside, which Rush thinks are junk, a dagger, an old key, and a spyglass doesn't work. Regardless, Rush brings the spyglass home and gives it to Max to keep him busy while he hangs out with Sandy. And but when the young boy looks at the spyglass, it seems to be working. Sometime after, Max is playing with his magic set, so we're surprised to see spyglass shake and move before it starts to spin around. Meanwhile, Rush and Sandy are gearing up for a smooch. I love these two, this constant attempt for these two to have a kiss. First of all, I love that they both clearly want it. Like that was really, really fun. But honestly, these two kids do awkward teenage kissing. Perfect. I can't believe I was convinced they were a couple because like an
Mm.
actual cute couple because they do it so fucking well. Like the acting, just how awkward. I'm sitting there going, this is so awkward. Please just kiss because it's so
Yeah,
awkward.
yeah.
Brilliant.
They do capture that really well. And I love the pan away kind of thing it does. Like, gotta keep it PG, right?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, this is ruined by the arrival of Max as well, who tries to so rush the spyglass, who still can't see anything in it. While looking through it, though, we see Max's bedroom window burst open and fog blow in. Rush goes for the kiss again, but the cock blocking worked, and Sandy has now decided she wants a snack and gets up to go get something to eat. Yeah. Sucks to be you, bro. Max goes back to his room and closes his window, but then notices his closet door slamming shut. Of course, no one is inside, and Max is then startled by Rush, who is getting some CDs. Back downstairs, he finally gets to kiss Sandy, as upstairs, Max can only watch in a shock as the spyglass moves off the table and towards his bed. Max goes to get it when a gloved hand reaches out from under the bed and grabs him with a maniacal laugh. Max is able to break free, pulling the glove off, which reveals a skeleton arm that grabs his foot. Obviously, Max screams and screams for Rush, who, having had his latest bout of kissing ruined, storms upstairs to find Max alone. So it's a fairly standard scare, nothing special, but keeps the story ticking along, leading to obviously the boy who cried wolf continuing kind of thing. Rush comes upstairs, there's nothing to be found.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rush is furious and accuses Max of pranking him, no matter how much Max says otherwise. Of course, when all this commotion is happening, Sandy is like, oh, I've had enough of this and has buggered off, which really angers Max. But later that night, he experiences a dream, one where he's in a foggy cemetery late at night. I love the location. Generally looks like a cemetery at night where they've clearly filmed it there. It's not like, it doesn't look like a set. That's cool.
Yeah.
As he approaches the mausoleum, a very pale ghost calls out to him. It's Ian Keegan, and he tells Rush that he is the one, and warns him, telling him what he wants is not what he desires, and to not be fooled. He then disappears. Yes, it's one of those I'm a ghost who can appear and talk to you in your dreams, but I can only then speak in riddles, except when I don't at the end for some reason.
Mm.
Fucking
Yeah,
idiot.
that's again, it's something that is very reoccurring in these types of shows and these episodes. Like it happens quite often, and also I thought like the effect they use for the ghostly looking guy, it kind of like feels like something we've seen quite a few times throughout the series already. I mean, it
Mhm.
works. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't look like ghostly and like pale and all that kind of stuff. It just looks quite familiar. Also, I found that whole exchange between him and the ghost kind of like amusing because he says his line and then like the boy repeats back to him. He says like, "What did you say?" Pretty much because the ghost has quite a thick Irish accent basically.
Yep.
So it's kind of like I found it quite amusing. He had to like he basically obviously didn't understand his accent at all, so he had to like repeat it. I thought that was quite funny.
It is a unique scene because there's always something that's stickling for me, right? Look, man, a pirate named Ian, really? Like every time I say it, I'm like, Ian.
Very creative.
Right, perfect timing for Vines to wrap around a Rush's legs and a skeleton hand to grab his shoulder. A large pirate is behind him and he tells Rush that he's been waiting for a final battle and asks him if he'll be a match for him. And Rush then wakes up from his nightmare screaming. It's morning, and seeing the spyglass, he looks through it and is shocked to see his dream playing out through it. Yes, this will never be explained at all, in
Mm.
any way, shape, or form, the purpose of the spyglass.
Mm.
Time for a return to Sardo's magic mansion, where Sardo is happy to see him and tries to get him to take the rest of the items from the chest. Rush wants to know that. So basically, Sardo's whole thing is that he can't get his reward money unless he gives every item away.
Mm.
All right. I mean, they do come in handy. They are used further along. I guess maybe that's. I know the whole point is basically spoilers, folk. This is Dr. Vink's plan, and it's part of his plan, but I don't fully understand it at the end either.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, Rush wants none of it and simply gives back the spyglass and leaves, much to Sardo's disappointment. That is until a voice behind him tells him to let the boy go, explaining that the items belong to him now. He's just not ready to accept them yet, and he will when the time comes. Finally, this mysterious person pulls out a wad of money, asking Sardo to send Rush over to him when he returns. And like it keeps this person hidden, but if you've watched this show or any other episode, you know that voice.
Yeah, but up to this point, I don't know why I'd not like figured out that's where it was going to go until I like realized. I just remembered, of course, this is like a character that appears in many of Frank's stories. It's like it's his character, and then when I
Yes.
realized that's where it was going, it's like I said, even though I've seen this show a few times, for some reason I just don't remember this episode. I mean, we'll get into why that is maybe, but yeah, once I realized it was like kind of like a holy shit moment, ultimate crossover, like it's like wow. I'm getting really excited to see these two characters on screen together, like tearing it up. But yeah,
This is Liam at WrestleMania and the glass breaks.
it was a bit like that. It was a bit like that. I was like, oh my God, is that who I think it is? Holy crap!
Yeah. My God. Right, so Max is home alone and weird shit is going on. His windows blow open and he can hear a jaunty pirate tune. Although I couldn't be sure about this. A jaunty pirate tune stopped the play, but I'm not sure if that was for our benefit or Max was hearing it. Because he acts
Mm,
like something weird is going on, but I'm like, I had no idea if he was hearing it, if it was just me.
yeah, no, very true.
Seemingly in a trance, Max walks outside and near the shore he finds the spyglass on a tree stump. He then sees a person and a robot heading towards shore. Rush now arrives home, goes looking for Max, finding the house empty. In Max's room, he looks inside the closet and sees a message pinned to the inside of the door with a dagger, and it says, "This is no dream, the boy is mine." Why would you pin it to the inside of the closet? What if he never opened the closet? Why would he open the closet at any point anyway? That is so stupid. Why, why is it
Yeah,
not just pinned on the front?
that's true. That's true.
Worried now, Rush frantically searches for Max and sees him outside staring at the sea. Rush rushes to him, not getting an answer, as the robot arrives on shore and the person inside is sitting still with a back to him. So Rush goes up to them, turning them around by the shoulder to reveal a skeleton. And in front of his eyes, it transforms into a one-eyed pirate who laughs maniacally at him, saying someone is coming. So basically, this is the Shmee character. He looks a bit Igor like that kind of thing, but just not as cool as Bob Hoskins was in Hook.
Definitely not. But I did actually really like the because obviously it's a practical effect of the person like rowing in the
Yep.
boat and stuff like that, sort of like ghostly feel to it. I quite like that. And yeah, I thought the effect from this going from the skeleton to the actual pirate person did actually look not too bad 'cause it's quite sped up, so it happens really quickly. I
Yeah.
thought it looked pretty half decent on the whole. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy playing this character, Mr. Noise, like he's kind of got that gross, creepy, underling vibe going quite well.
Hmm.
So Rush grabs Max and drags him inside, but the one-eyed pirate appears in the house. Finally, the big bad of the episode appears. It's Captain Cutter, and he talks to Rush like he knows him or has been expecting a fight. The one-eyed pirate, Mr. Noise, grabs Max, and the two pirates leave with the boy in tow. Take a good look at him. It'll be the last time you'll ever see him, and they vanish out the front door. So Rush races after them and can only watch in despair as they row out to sea, laughing maniacally. Rush then picks up the spyglass, points it to his house, looks for it, seeing the mausoleum from the cemetery and the door slamming shut. Um, and actually, I'll finish up here quickly. Suddenly, it cuts back to the campfire with the Midnight Society as the sound of an approaching storm is heard, forcing them all to basically call it a night. And that's the end of that part of the story. I think this is actually a pretty strong ending. The in the bit house with the door, the effects, the fog,
Mm.
the acting, the kind of like gravitas that come with the boy being captured, and the intrigue of me thinking, well, why does Cutter feel like he acting like he knows Rush? Now they do fuck all with that rather than doing something clever. But at the time, I was like, "This is interesting," and
Mm.
I'm interested to see where it goes. Yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree. It definitely like grabs you right at the end. A lot of intrigue. You're still kind of wondering how Sardo and Vink are going to like tie into the story as well, like how they're going to get involved and what's their role going to be. Yeah, I really loved another effect they did, which was when Cutter comes through the doorway and it's like already brightly lit. I was getting major Cenobite vibes at that
yeah.
moment. Like it was really like quite effective, I thought. And yeah, it like builds up nicely to the second part. It does make you want to see what happens next. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I did actually love the way they explained why it was split into two parts because they didn't really have to do that. They could just say part two, whatever, and you just have to accept it. But it's a creative reason to make it happen, and it kind of makes you think like how often does this kind of thing happen? Because they're like weather changes all the time, and it's quite interesting. Yeah.
I agree. You're right. They didn't even have to do it. They could have just done a part two. So it was a cool little touch because, as well, that gives us a cool little intro to the second part. Because the next night, Frank and Gary arrive together and everyone else is already there except Tucker, who races in eager to hear the rest of the story. And everybody kind of like, oh, like, tell us about this. They all want to know different things, which I don't know. It's just a nice thing to sort of see the enthusiasm from all the characters, including even the ones that can be a bit of a dick like Tucker. To have that enthusiasm is cool.
Yeah, I mean, often like I've said before about certain stories where they're not showing much enthusiasm, it kind of like kind of echoes through the screen to you when you're watching. You kind of sharing the excitement and the questions. They're all really intrigued and stuff, just like how you have similar questions. So it kind of like echoes towards you as the audience, which is nice.
Yeah, and even cleverly, Frank and Gary give the Minute Society a brief recap, which also gives us a brief recap. Obviously, us watching
Mhm.
it back to back, we didn't need it, but bear in mind there should have been a week between these airings, so you would have wanted that recap. It's cool.
I like it.
Right, so Rush is trying to get hold of his parents, but failed. That's because they're banging Rush. And so, with nothing else to do, he goes to see Sardo. Obviously, Sardo isn't much help, of course, but actually, in a way, it's because he legitimately doesn't know anything. So, it gives him a business card and a man who has answers. And the business card says the Wild Boar Coiffier. And Rush goes over to the barber shop, and the man is none other than Dr. Vink. Why has he got a barber shop this time? Who fucking knows? Who cares?
That's the enjoyable mystery of the character, isn't it?
It's just there's different businesses, but we also don't know the order they're in. Like, does this appearance of Dr. Vink come before his appearance in the Phantom Cab? Like, do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, where do these line up in his lifetime?
Yeah, I do love that aspect of the character. Yeah.
I also like that Dr. Vink actually tries to offer hair tonic to Rush, implying that actually what he's doing is probably something similar to the Dangerous Soup and all of that. It's experimental hair tonic, right?
Yeah.
Rush explains why he's there, but of course, Dr. Vink is fully aware and will explain provided Rush can understand one thing. He's not a nutbag, although Rush never actually said he was one. It's a little awkward. I think, as I said, they really should have done the Sardo thing. But there you go.
I felt that was a little bit necessary where they did it.
Yeah. Dr. Vink informs him that the man who kidnapped Max is a vicious pirate named Captain Jonas Cutter. He hid his treasure in a secret underground vault that still hasn't been found yet. Dr. Vink then shows Rush a portrait of Captain Cutter from a history book, and Rush immediately recognizes him as the pirate who took Max. The police want help as Captain Cutter has been dead for about 200 years. Dr. Vic then tells Rush, oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to jump in and say that I really actually liked that they established that he did try to go to the police beforehand because very
Mhm.
often they don't do that, and it's like no, he did try to do the smart thing. Obviously, like they wouldn't believe him, but at least he tried, you know.
Yeah, agreed. But there's also an argument to say that's just really bad police work as well, because, like, if he said my brother been taken by someone, you probably should investigate that, regardless of who he's saying it is.
Yeah, just a little bit. They should.
Just a little bit, yeah. Donovan then tells Rush that the old wooden chest contains items that once belonged to the one man who tried to defeat Captain Carr. Before he died, he vowed that one day a champion would come along. And I was like, what the hell is all of this? Like, we had that whole intro and he didn't think to add this detail. He never
I
said
know.
any of that.
No, I should just had it on some paper or something.
Donovan reveals that he left the chest at Sardos, hoping to find a champion who would open it and eventually be ready to do battle with the evil pirate. Inside, it contains items that are blessed by the spirits of Cutter's innocent victims. And I was just like, what is this nonsense? Like, first off, you have Dr. Vink, and what you basically boil him down to is he's expositing. That's all it
Mhm.
is. Yet, honestly, this is nonsense. Made up nonsense that doesn't fit with anything we've done up to this point. And now it's just giving you an easy out for the ending. And it's so frustrating. But it's just like, is this really the best you could do? Which is basically
Mm.
magic items. And it's like, wow, that's it. And this is all Dr. Vink is here to explain all of that, because it even goes further as you get the whole Rush being confused about it. And it's like, if he's confused, the character is, how do you think the viewer feels?
Absolutely. I mean, we could go on a long, probably extended rant on the misuse of the two iconic I, Freddy the Dark characters here. I think like they should, you just got those two characters. There's so many more creative ways they could be used, but they just feel like bit parts to this other plot that's going on, which is just very
Yeah.
disappointing. Yeah.
It more than Sado was natural. Dr. Vic feels jammed in. It does actually feel jammed in.
Yes.
So yeah, revealing his full name to Dr. Vink, Russell Ian Keegan. Dr. Vink then shows him the bottom of the chest, which has the name Ian Keegan on it. And it turns out that Ian Keegan is Rush's distant relative, so that makes Rush the chosen one.
Mm.
Okay, I mean that's fine, but like I don't know, maybe like have a whole thing with Dr. Vink can reveal that he's tried this before with other members of Rush's family and they failed and stuff like that. Just something to make it feel like there's more of a connection here.
Definitely.
Wanting his brother back, Rush agrees to try and defeat Captain Cutter, accepting his destiny, according to Dr. Vink. I hate when anyone mentions destiny.
Yes.
Rush takes the dagger, and then we cut to him looking through the spyglass in the cemetery, which apparently brought them here. So now the spyglass is working like a teleportation device. Fine, whatever.
Sure.
Donovan is pleased and gives Rush the chest items, promising to be watching as he wants some of the treasure to fund his unique ideas. On his own now, Rush slowly heads to the mausoleum where he encounters the ghosts of Ian Keegan. Apparently, the dagger has no power. Sorry, the dagger has the power. Well, obviously, that's the one thing that does make sense, because it's the one thing we saw at the start. I can buy into that at least.
And I know that mentioned it in the previously in this same episode, but it has to be mentioned again. Man, do I hate cryptic ghosts. Just tell if you have the power to say words, just tell him what to do more directly. It's not that complicated. Why are you
It's
making it
not.
so cryptic?
I'll repeat it again. It's the cryptic line, do not be fooled. What he wants is not what he desires. And what's really annoying about this particular cryptic statement is even I couldn't work it out. It took it being spelled out to the character for me to
Mm,
go, oh, is that it?
yeah. Ugh.
Ian disappears now, and Rush uses the key to unlock the door to the mausoleum. Inside is basically a scare factory, as he's startled by a talking and laughing skeleton. Welcome aboard, Skipper! And Rush falls through the floorboards and into the crypt's basement. Somehow, he's fine from that. In the crypt, you can hear Captain Jonas Cutter's voice laughing and taunting him, and the underground cave is like a maze with traps. It does have a very fun house feel.
It does. It does. It does start to feel more funhousey for sure.
After avoiding some dangerous ones, Rush runs into Max, seemingly okay but in a trance still. Unfortunately, it's actually Mr. Noise who tries to attack Rush with his sword. However, Rush uses the dagger, which glows with energy, and zaps Mr. Noise on the head, causing him to vanish. And I mean, I don't know what I expect, folks. I know I'm full for expecting more. I'm not expecting him to fucking stop fucking wailing on Dr. Noise in a bloody shower of stabbing. But is really what it just shoots a crappy effect, and it's like, is that it? You know, it's just so disappointing.
Yeah, it is disappointing. I think often, again, and I Afraid of the Dark particularly less so than Goosebumps, even though for some reason I always thought I Afraid of the Dark was more like because it kind of feels like it has a
Yeah,
older audience age range kind of thing, but for some reason they tone down the horror elements a lot more and go for like the more sort of cheesy like approach. I'm not sure why.
yeah, I know, right? It's been incredible doing this talk through to realize just how much tamer this is. You know what it
Hmm.
is? It's the fucking intro. The intro is burned in my brain, and it's so convincingly dark and horror laden that you believe you're going to watch something else. And I think that's what it is.
Absolutely, because it's like one of those things where it's shown on like list after list of like childhood shows that we all grew up watching that were like terrifying, and people often use the intro because the intro is so good at building
Yeah.
the tension for like expecting something truly scary, but then like I don't think it really delivers ultimately, unfortunately, at this point.
When we eventually get to the end and we do a ton of different variations of list and all that, we will, and I'm going to put it down quickly, just we will do either a top 10 or maybe a top 20, depending on how many, but maybe just a top 10 of scariest, our
Hmm.
scariest, what we would define as actually scary variations. Because immediately off the top of my head, I think of like the Midnight Madness, the one with the vampire in the cinema. That's a good example of one, you know?
I mean, I definitely remember like throughout doing these talk throughs, there have been episodes that I've highlighted where I've said that like a younger person would find this scary, and you
Yeah.
obviously you have to remember that. But I definitely, I mean, obviously, like we were raised on certain things that maybe maybe it desensitized us at a younger age. A younger person that doesn't see these things might find scary, but I just think they're quite tame on the whole.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this one particularly as well, because even using pirates, there's nothing particularly spectacular here. But anyway, Rush carries on and enters the treasure room where he finds treasure, duh, a Max in a cage. Max is happy to see him as he thought Rush hated him and they reconcile. That's actually a really sweet scene, but would have probably had a bit more impact had Max not been removed from the story so early. I almost feel like we could have done a bit of kind of like chasing and sort of like a chase scene a couple of times where they're trying to outfox and outrun Cutter, and that kind of gets where this one has a little more impact. Because other than that, it's actually quite a nice little scene where they reconcile.
I agree, yeah. It is nice, but like you said, a little bit more of them together. Like maybe not always fighting, maybe like a nice moment, so it's like easier to invest in that kind of thing. It's kind of like like in like the movie Labyrinth, for example. Like you have to
Yeah,
show a little bit, that yeah, it adds to the impact when you see like her spending more time with the baby and stuff like that, kind of thing.
agreed. Okay, anyway, here's Captain Cutter gearing up for a big battle. And look, man, nothing makes me think a character is dumber than when he's all like, oh, I want a big fight. But he's saying it to a clear child. And it's not like he's confusing. Because what I was convinced was he was seeing, basically, I thought he was seeing Ian, the Ian in Rush. So he didn't see a kid, he saw a grown man. I'm wrong. He knows this is a fucking kid.
Yeah, I mean, it makes little sense when you think about it from that perspective. Also, the guy playing Carter, he is like try. I think it's like he saw that the actor, playing Sardo and Dr. Vinker in this, and he was like, I have to be like 10 times crazier and like slobbering and crazy and eccentric than them, and he was like trying to outdo them. And I think if all three of them had somehow appeared on screen at the same time, it just would have been, oh my God, it's been way to imagine.
The fucking emoting would have been insane.
Scene stealing, man.
Anyway, Rush tries to explain to the dumb pirate, but he seems to think that as Rush opened the chest, went through all the trouble to find him, defeated Mr. Noise, and broke into his treasure room, that means he wants to do battle. And I was just like, you know what? Okay. I did get excited because we like, oh, there's Dr. Vink sneaking in. So, well, hey,
Mm.
that's gonna count for something, right? Oh my God.
But that just is a clear example of it's so tacked on. It's so tacked on. He's just like here he is out of nowhere. It's like they just
Yeah.
remembered. Oh crap, we should probably include him.
Anyway, Captain Cutter gets the swords and starts swiping at Rush, who is able to dodge his attacks. Fearsome Pirate A. He also does that whole villain thing where he talks non-stop and laughs non-stop. Um, from behind a box, Dr. Vink reminds Rush to use the dagger, but Captain Cutter is prepared and disarms him, demanding he get up and fight. Right. This scene, now at the time I had no problem with, but now I know the ending. This makes no sense. You want him to fucking kill you. Why would
Mm.
you disarm him? You
Yeah.
would surely, I know you don't want to make it obvious, But surely I'd be, if I wanted to die or be killed by this dagger, I'm going to be like, oh, oh, I can't. Oh no, I fell on the knife. Do you know what I mean? Come on, man.
Yes, that would be the smart approach. Also, just one more small thing about Dr. Bink's character. I don't know if you
Mm.
like thought about this as well, but isn't it interesting? Do you think that he's playing slightly more of like a good guy in this episode, like being more helpful? And it's like that's kind of out of character a bit for him, isn't it? Isn't he usually more of a villainous character, especially how we've seen him previously? Like I know he can be a bit mischievous, and he's kind of in that sense there's a goodness to him, but he's usually more of the villainous character, and like it's weird to see him being so helpful here.
Well, see, I was convinced, unnaturally, because of what they've done today, is that whatever he was trying to do was for his own purpose. Now, he mentioned
Hmm.
wanting a treasure for his experiment. So I expected, like we've done every single time with Dr. Ving, at the end, we would get a stinger in a way where he reveals that this is why he wanted this, and this is why he's using Rush for his own betterment, just like he's used the guys at the cinema, just like the Tale of the Dangerous Suit, just like the fucking Phantom Cab. All of that, I was convinced that's what was happening. Oh my, well, folks, I was wrong. They don't know what they're doing. And for some reason, you say they think, oh, everybody likes Dr. Fink. Let's make him a good guy. It is what they did with Puppet Master, that franchise, where it got popular and they were like, let's turn the puppets good. And it was like, but why? I was,
Yeah,
yeah.
true. It's almost all a bit like Freddy Krueger, I suppose, who starts out as villainous character, and then because he became so popular and everyone loves the character so much, they were like, "Oh, we'll kind of make him more of a shade of grey a little bit, kind of
Yeah.
thing, or make him a bit more like a comedy character."
Yeah.
But like it feels a bit off here because you already have Sardo should be doing that role. That's what he should be doing. You don't need Doctor Vink for that. Like you said, maybe if they had done a third part, it could have been like after that's done, Doctor Vink reveals that was all part of his plan to like capture
Hmm.
the souls and stuff like that in the chest, and then you could have Sardo and Rush go up against the ultimate overall arcing villain, who was the puppet master here, pulling the strings of Doctor Vink. Yeah.
There it is, folks. There it is. But that's not what we get. We can only review what's in front of us, unfortunately. We do sometimes get a bit wishful when we can see what would have been. But hey, we weren't in charge. But anyway, Max is getting out of his binds in this cage, which is handy. Good at pirate is the worst. As he's now able to get the dagger and give it to Rush. Rush then uses to knock Captain Cutter backwards and into a chair where vines wrap around him. Um, and I was a bit like, why hasn't the dagger destroyed him? But this is a weird thing as well. The dagger that was shooting lasers now does nothing like that and appears in the next scene to have to be used like a standard dagger.
Mm.
Donovan appears now and tells Rush that he must kill Captain Cutter to finish it. Something that Cutter encourages. And this is where I was convinced about Dr. Fink, because he's almost like that devil on the shoulder. Kill him, do it. You know, that kind of thing. I was
Mm.
like, oh, he wants this to happen for a reason.
That's what I was thinking as well.
As Rush approaches, he finally realizes that he's not supposed to kill him. And what Ian Keegan meant when he told him what he wants is not what he desires. So hear me out, folks. I didn't write this. This is it. Captain Cutter is trapped, guarding his beloved treasure from no one because basically everybody's forgotten it, so nobody's looking for it. He wants his soul to be released from the curse. So rather than let him be free, Rush breaks the dagger, ensuring the pirate will stay cursed and nobody can ever use it to free him. What
Mm.
the actual fuck? Because immediately this falls apart on one thing. Dr. Vink has been looking for this treasure. For how long? It's already said that. So that if that Captain Cutter must know someone is seeking his treasure. So he has someone to defend it against.
Mm. Yeah.
It makes no sense, this.
No, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny at all. Mm.
I mean, I appreciate the fact that like it's not about the pirate being good. He stays. I mean, that he stays trapped and the place caves in around him and his soul will forever be cursed. I appreciate that because they said he was a bad guy and they stuck to that. But like, I'm just like, this episode stunk, man. I was so
Mm.
annoyed at this point.
As it gets closer to the conclusion, it does start to annoy you. It's true.
Yeah, because you realize there's no way, there's no chance of it coming back. There's no chance of it improving.
No, can't be saved.
Rush and Max are able to escape, helping each other along the way. Back in the cemetery, Rush and Max meet with Ian Keegan one last time, and Ian tells them, now no longer speaking cryptically, that he's proud of them, and that Rush made the right choice by breaking the dagger, and Cutter's ghost would never be free. You prick!
Fuck that guy.
Ian vanishes, and then after looking through the spyglass, which Rush looks through, it's now just suddenly daytime. I have no idea. This thing, like, you'd think it stopped working after all of this, but that means he's got a teleportation, time traveling spyglass for the future, right?
You think?
Anyway, remember, here's Dr. Vink, who apparently enjoyed the adventure. And in a really dumb scene again, the boys are like, oh, sorry you didn't get your treasure. And he's like, no worries. You know, sometimes it's okay. And then he's like, oh, yeah, but I also have treasure. And then gives them gems. What was that scene? Did they had 30 seconds to film? We're like, oh, just do this.
It's a complete and total face turn for Doctor Think. That's what it is.
It really is. And you think, here's Sardo, maybe, right? It's a double turn. Here's Sardo with the chair, slamming Dr.
Holy
Vink in the back.
no, that would be really an interesting creative turn if that had happened, honestly.
But no, he's just randomly here now as well, disappointed that he didn't get paid and wants the money from Dr. Vink. And Dr. Vink tells him he's going to pay him double. And after Rush and Max head home, they discuss more jobs that they can do together. Why, Sardo, if he hasn't paid you for the first job, why the fuck would you think he's going to pay you double for that? And then it's to see them walk off like that. The problem is that makes you go, that'd be so cool. But we
Oh
already
my
know this
God.
is Dr. Vink's like final episode, so it means nothing to me.
There's just I can't think of how they could have handled this whole situation of these two characters being in it worse. I can only think there must have been like filming conflicts, or they just couldn't get them like in the same location twice for some this like many times for some unknown reason. Because like you do get this brief scene of them together, and it's enjoyable, but like you said, it just makes you mad about what could have been and how this could have been more of the focus of the story. Maybe like if they're on screen for like too long, they have to pay them like loads more money or something. I don't know. It just feels like something was off about the fact that they're just barely in it and they're sprinkled in at really random times and then really tacked on at the end, almost like they were like, oh my God, we've just done a two-part episode where these two characters should be involved, and then we haven't had them on screen like a single time together. That's crazy.
It is. It is. I mean, I would love to know more about this episode and just what the issues were, or what the ideas were, because something clearly was wrong. But we're not quite done
Mm.
yet. Let's just finish the last little bits. Arriving back home, Rush and Max meet their parents, who were returned from their bike trip, complaining about how sore they are. I was on to you, bloody people. Because and they're even like, oh, we had such an amazing weekend. Did ya? Did you get blown a lot? I'll bet. But Max and Rush will have to remain a secret. As the story ends, Gary and Frank say that Rush and Max never told anyone about their adventure because they were afraid that if they did, then someone else would have gone searching for Cutter's treasure, and that would have meant the pirate would come back or something. And I guess nobody ever asked those kids how they got those gems ever.
I mean, what do they do with them, kind of thing.
I stopped caring. I stopped caring. I was not on board from the start. The characters, the kind of build, the idea of all these things coming together excited me. But when it comes down to it, the two-part story is pirate nonsense that's stupidly told, misuses tons of characters, isn't scary, isn't interesting, isn't even that much fun. I think I hated this by the end.
I know, it's so disappointing for that to be like the opinion on it, but it's hard to really think of too many good and good positives about it. It's just really unfortunate.
Or like, I mean, Vestas go, oh, good acting. Some of the sort
Mm.
of visuals were good and stuff like that. But like, these are stories being told by children around the Earth campfire. So story is the optimal word here. If this, I fight there 2 nights, man, I'd have fucking quit that Midnight Society, or I'd have been me and Gary having words, mate. We're having words. 2 nights taken up with your shitty ass story. Don't blame it on Frank, mate. You took his character and wasted it.
That's what it feels like. It does kind of end up feeling like two people butting heads and not creatively like getting along and not sure how to use their prospective characters that they've like created. It does kind of feel like that. And as we know, he has a really good track record with stories. So you can
Mhm.
only blame this on Gary, who has such a poor track record of stories that just kind of like a bit of a mismatch of like lots of different styles and stuff, and like don't make much sense. And if you scrutinize them, they don't really hold up to scrutiny. And like they even showed like at the ending of the first half and coming in again with the other storytellers asking questions. So it shows that even they are not just like mindless fools. They will also ask questions and scrutinize the story. So like if we're thinking these very simplistic things, they're not even that complicated issues with
Yeah.
the stories. They must be thinking it too, surely.
I demand a Frank cut. That's what I demand a Frank cut. There's a Frank cut out there, bitches. It might be like 3 hours long or something, but I want it. I want Frank's cut.
because he would always lean into the more horror elements as well. I think that's why we often enjoy Frank's stories more, because he's supposed to be like this bad boy character, so he's more interested in, I guess, the horror side of things. Where Gary's more interested in the magic and the fantastical stuff and the cheesy stuff that doesn't really work too well very often.
And this feels like magic. This doesn't feel like horror. This feels like magic, man.
Yeah, like it's just lazy, a lot lazy storytelling where you can just explain a lot of things away by saying, "Oh, because magic happened, that's why." Like that's the reason.
We could go on for ages in this one, but I think we'll wrap it up there and ask you to offer your thoughts on episode 4 and 5 of season 4, The Tale of Cutter's Treasure. We've been very critical of it in many different ways. Have you got any positives you can share with us? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.